you on a dark or empty path seeking answers. Watch this video exposing the dark lies, deceiving many to the truth.
First of all, a common question would be, what are Tzitziyot? What are they? Well, you can see I have my Tzitziyot right here on the front of my my thing here. It's not pinned to it, it's just hanging there right now. So I can't tap the pulpit too much or I'll knock them off of there. But Tzitziyot is strings that are tied and they're knotted together and they hang around your waist. Now we're going to get into the hanging around the waist and all that in a little bit. But let's look at the scriptural references. We can see by looking at it, and you can see the blue and the white here, and we're going to get into the colors of that also in a little bit. But let's get into the Hebrew of what are Tzitziyot. Because believe it or not, the scriptures talk about Tzitziyot. Tzitziyot in the Hebrew word, it is Hebrew number 6734, and it's tzit, teeth. I'm not sure how you say that in the pronunciation, but it's and you can see the Hebrew block letters here. We're going to get into that towards the end of our message tonight. But what it is a floral or wing-like projection, i.e. a forelock of hair, or it's a tassel. Now in scriptures you don't actually see the word tzit-tzits or Tzitziyot in the actual English. What you see in there is you see the word tassel. And there's other words that are used, and we'll be getting into that. Both Old and New Testament. Now, so it is a tassel, is how it's called in the scriptures. The root number is Hebrew number 6731. If we go there, it's pretty much the same pronunciation there. Properly, that is a burnished plate, also a flower as a bright colored, a wing as gleaming in the air, a blossom, a flower, a slate, or a wing. Because if you look at it, the end of these, they kind of blossom out. The very end of it, because it's made up, it has 8 strings. And there is Hebrew significance to that fact that it has 8 strings. Let's continue on. The Hebrew root word for this one here is 69, Hebrew number 6992. And it goes into a primitive root to twinkle, that is to glance. By analogy to blossom, which we just saw in the other one. Figuratively to flourish. Bloom, to blossom, to flourish, to show. Okay? So we see here, it means to bloom or to blossom. It's a blossom, like a flower blossoms. A flower, when it is first, before it starts to blossom, it's like this. It's just a small, it has all its petals together. And then when it blossoms, it blooms out. Well, it's the same thing with a tzitzit, in that it's closed up at the top, but towards the bottom, it spreads out. Although I can't get this one to do it with my fingers here. Whoop. Well, there you go. It blossoms outward. And I knew I was going to knock one of them off. So it blossoms at the very bottom of the yolk. Or the tt, I should say, because I'm using it in singular form. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11.
Thou shalt not wear a garment of divers sorts, as of woolen and linen together.
Okay, now, here is one of the requirements. I don't know why I had this up in the beginning. This is actually going to come up again later on. But we see here, this is one of the requirements, and we'll get into the requirements for the way tzzitzits are made. And this is one of them. The scriptures saying this doesn't necessarily pertain to just the tzzitzits or Tzitziyot. This refers to a custom have wool and cotton together. It was against the law, against Hebrew law there. So we see that you can't have cotton and wool together. So, yes.
Wool and linen.
Wool and linen, I'm sorry. What am I saying?
Cotton.
Cotton. Wool and linen, I'm sorry, you're right. Okay, so the teachings I have here in front of me, these here hanging over the pulpit, these are made of cotton. These are 100% cotton made. We had these made by someone and sent to us. But these are all made of cotton. And the ones that I'm wearing, which I don't know if you would be able to see these are a little darker. But these also are made of, these might be made of polyester or cotton, I'm not sure. But these are different than those there. I don't think these are cotton. But these are the short ones. I had Tzitziyot. I have the longer ones, which you see up here in the front. And I'm wearing a set, which is the shorter set. Now, we're going to get into length and all that a little bit later on also. You will. Okay, so Numbers chapter 15, verse 38.
And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
Okay, now we see here a requirement of the Tzitziyot. Now you can go online and get Tzitziyot, buy Tzitziyot, that's what we did. We had one set that people made it and send it to us, but we had another set we ordered online. Now the Tzitziyot are blue and white, and the ones I have on me are blue. But according to Scripture, because there is no Scripture that tells you that they have to be blue or white or any other colors, there's only one requirement, we'll get into this, is that there is one string of blue. There's a great significance in that being blue. So we see that a ribbonnet of blue. Now, here's my question. Okay? This way the Scripture is telling us, saying about putting the tzitzits in the four corners of our garments. Okay, this is one of the requirements for Tzitziyot. Four corners of our garment. Now I can't show you the ones I have on me, but I have it on both sides, on my front and back. That's why you have, when you buy a set of Tzitziyot, they send you a set of 4. Because the Scriptures do say the four corners of our garment. Now, of course, four corners are in Scripture that goes in other places too, about the four corners of the world. That Yahweh is going to call his people back from the four corners of the earth, and so on and so forth about the four corners. So we see that four corners is important in the Scriptures. So, there's only 2 direct Scriptures in reference to Tzitziyot and how they're made. There's only 2. This one right here, Numbers 15:58, is one of them. Deuteronomy 22, verse 12 is another one. Now, interestingly, in Numbers 15:38, it says the color has to be, one of them threads has to be blue. It has to be blue. It says here, speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make the fringes and the borders of the garments throughout their generations, and that they put them on the fringes on the borders, a ribbon of blue. What is the importance of blue in Scripture? Okay, why blue? I mean, Yahweh could have picked any color in the rainbow, any color on the color spectrum. Why did he pick blue? Now that's a study all by itself. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do a study in the future on colors, the meaning of colors in Scriptures, where we're going to look at the Scriptures and colors in the scriptures. And we're going to see some fascinating things about colors in scriptures and what they all mean. Because the scriptures talk a lot about color. And it's important to Yahweh, color. But it also here is important that Yahweh says that the Tzitziyot have one ribbon of blue, one string of blue in it. Now, like I said, we could go online anywhere and order Tzitziyot. You'll see them in different colors. You'll see them in black and blue, white and blue, green and blue. You can see them in all different colors. I've seen them in just white, which I don't see that in Scripture. Some people say that it's just only white in the Tzitziyot, but the Scriptures here are plain that it's a one ribbon of blue in your Tzitziyot. So I'm going by what the Scriptures say, not by what man says. But it does say one ribbon of blue. So the Scriptures are never specific as to how many. I mean, what colors your Tzitziyot have to be, as long as they have a ribbon of blue in them. Okay, and that is the one main requirement of Tzitziyot. Now, so we see what they are. We see what Tzitziyot are in the Scriptures and where the two Scriptures are for them. But arises a lot of questions. A lot of questions as to why we should wear them. And where is it in Scripture? You know, people say, well, give me book, chapter, and verse. Well, we can give you book, chapter, and verse on wearing Tzitziyot. There's a lot of people that question whether we should actually wear them. Let's look at some reasons, two reasons why we should wear Tzitziyot. The first reason, it's commanded in the Old Testament. It's commanded in the Old Testament. Let's look at Numbers chapter 15, verses 37 through 40.
And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of Yahweh, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your Elohim.
Okay, now here's a question. Okay, in verse 38 it says, throughout their generations. Now, we would say, well, I've heard people say, well, we have to obey the commandments. Okay, and we do. I agree with that. Yes, we do 100% have to obey the commandments of Yahweh, because it tells us to. But see, here's the thing. People say we need to obey the commandments. And this is true, but they say we don't have to obey the commandment of wearing Tzitziyot. Now this gets me scratching my head, okay, about why people would be selective with certain scriptures. It seems like to me that they apply some scriptures saying, oh yeah, you have to, throughout your generations, you have to do this all the time, and we're going to look at a few examples in just a moment, but they say, oh yeah, but when it comes to Tzitziyot, the commandment for Tzitziyot, oh, we don't have to obey that. That's not for us today. And we're going to get into common objections about wearing Tzitziyot in the next message. But here's 5 examples of ones that people say where it actually says throughout their generations. 1. The Sabbath. Exodus 31, verses 12 through 16.
And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Shabbat you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh that doth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Shabbat therefore, for it is holy unto you, and every one that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul should be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Shabbat of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Shabbat day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbat, to observe the Shabbat throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant.
Throughout their what?
Generations.
Throughout their generations. Now, we 100% believe that we have to obey the commandment here, to keep the Shabbat. And that's what my wife and I do. We keep the Shabbat. Friday night, sundown, till Saturday night at dusk. That is the biblical Shabbat. And we believe 100% that we should do this. Okay? And it says, throughout your generations. How about Passover? Exodus 12, verse 14.
And this shall be unto you for memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever.
For what?
Forever.
Forever. Throughout your generations. Again, it says about the Passover, keep it throughout your generations forever. When does forever stop?
It don't.
It does not. We keep the Passover. Okay? Because the commandments teach us to, and we want to be obedient to the commandments. How about first fruits? Leviticus 23:14.
And ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings.
Throughout your generations. Again, the third one that says throughout your generations. In other words, we're supposed to keep these commandments. We're still supposed to keep them today. The law has not been done away with. Messiah said that he did not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. And these are the laws that we're supposed to keep. How about Pentecost? Leviticus 23, verse 21. It's also called Shavuot in the Hebrew.
And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation unto you. You shall do no several work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations.
Throughout your generations. Again, it says throughout your generations. Let's do one more. And that is the Day of Atonement. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 31.
You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings.
Okay, now, we see 5 scriptures here that tell us in the Old Testament this throughout your generations. And these things we should keep. If we're natural born Jewish, or we're engrafted in, we need to keep these commandments. Now you might say, or somebody might say, well, brother, that's in the Old Testament. I mean, that's in the Old Testament. What we don't have to obey the Old Testament anymore. Well, I just said that Messiah did not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. He did not take away the law, but he came to fulfill it. And over again in the New Testament, it talks about those who kept the law over and over again. So you might say, well, that was the Old Testament. How about the New Testament? Matthew chapter 9. Verse 20. Because in the Old Testament, we need to keep them commandments. But in the New Testament, Messiah himself wore tzit. Matthew chapter 9, verse 20.
And behold, a woman which was diseased with the issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment.
Touched the hem of his garment. You see, not only do we have to be obedient to the scriptures in the Old Testament and the New Testament say about wearing tzitziot. Even Messiah himself wore tzitziot. Matthew chapter 14, verse 36.
And besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole.
You see, okay, these four scriptures that we're going to be giving here, it says the hem of his garment. You might say, well, the hem, that's like this here. That's like this, like this. But if you look it up in the Hebrew word, it goes back to the word tassel, or the word tzitiyot. You see, Messiah himself, being Jewish, had to be obedient to the law. And to be obedient to the law, he had to be obedient to wearing tzitziot. And that's what he did. When in these scriptures, you see examples of those who just want to touch the hem of his garment, the tzitziot of his garment. If you look at some pictures online where it talks about touching the hem of his garment, if you look, most of the pictures there, it shows tzitziot, and the person is touching that tzitziot, and that person was made whole. So in the Old Testament, we're commanded to wear tzitziot. In the New Testament, Messiah himself wore tzitziot. Let's look at one more. Mark chapter 6, verse 56.
And whithersoever he entered, into villages or cities or country, they laid the sick in the streets and besought him that they might touch, if it were but the border of his garment. And as many as touched him were made whole.
You see, wow, look at that. I mean, look at that. They touched the hem of his garment. They touched the hem of his garment, and they were made whole. The tzitziot, the tzitzit of his garment. Not tzitziot, tzitzit. I might get them mixed up back and forth because it is singular and plural, but the tzitzit of his garment. Let's look at one more, which is Luke chapter 8, verse 44.
Came behind him and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood stanched.
You see, she had an issue of blood for, 16 years?
12.
12 years. Okay, I thought it was 16 for some reason, but 12. And she had an issue with blood. She touched the hem of his garment. And I believe one of the other Gospels say about how Messiah stopped, or it might be this one here, we just didn't read it. He stopped because he knew somebody touched the hem of his garment. Why? Because he said, virtue went out from me. So there was a lot of power in Tzitziyot. Now, I'm not saying somebody wearing Tzitziyot and you have issue and you touch their Tzitziyot that you're going to be healed. I'm not saying that. I'm not Yahweh. I'm not going there. But what I'm saying is that in the scriptures it shows over and over again in these 4 scriptures how Messiah himself wore Tzitziyot. And the power behind that. So we see here what Tzitziyot are and why we should wear them. So we saw the significance of wearing them. Is there scriptural significance to wearing Tzitziyot? What's the significance of wearing them? There's 2 main reasons why we wear Tzitziyot, and both are just as important as the other. 1, it reminds us to keep Yahweh's commandments, because that's what the Old Testament said. Numbers chapter 15, verse 39, please.
And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of Yahweh, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a-whoring.
So we see here the Tzitziyot in Scripture. It reminds us, when we look upon it, to keep Yahweh's commandments. It is a reminder of keeping his commandments. And in the question and answer session, I'm going to cover that a little bit more in depth. So now the question here might be Numbers 15:39. You might say, and you would be right and correct in this, in that you would say, well, brother, doesn't the scripture say that we have the commandments written upon our hearts? And you would be correct in that. Now, we're going to cover that more in depth in the question and answer session. But that's going to lead me into the second significance of wearing Tzitziyot. I want to first look at a chart because I found this chart very interesting. I kind of broke the chart down a little bit. The scriptures have the Jewish law has 613 laws. At least that's what they say. Now, a lot of these laws we cannot keep. On my computer, I have a list of all the laws, and most of them we cannot keep. So I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that we need to keep all 613 laws. But there's an interesting thing about 613 laws, and that is, let's first look at this. The Hebrew of Tzitziyot is Zadi, Yod, and Tav. Remembering that the Hebrew, they read from right to left, not left to right like we do. So Zadi, Yod, Tav in the Hebrew. Now what does this represent? This is just the block letter Hebrew and what they are in the Hebrew. But let's look at a little more in depth with the Hebrew alphabet here, because in the Hebrew alphabet, each letter in the Hebrew alphabet is given a gematria, or a number attached to it. And it has a meaning behind that number, behind that Hebrew alphabet letter. So each one of these have a Hebrew number attached to them. So what's the Hebrew numbers? Well, Zadi, Yod, is 90, 10, 90, and 10. So Zadi is 90 and Yod is 10. Again, 90 and 10. But then you got Tav, which is the very last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it's 400. Now you might say, well, why does that jump up so much? Well, the Hebrew alphabet goes from, has a certain numbering system where it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 26, or 24, 28, like we do, 26. The Hebrew alphabet is different. It gets to a certain point and then it jumps. So, and that's the way the Hebrew alphabet is. That's why the Tav is 400. Now, if you look at these and you add them up, the total is 600. 400, 500, 600. So you might say, well, okay, well, that's good, bro. That you can count to 600. Very, very good. You can add 5 numbers. You graduated high school, obviously. Yes, I did. But there's more significance to this number 600 because if you look at, I'm going to take one of my Tzitzits here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it on the video, but on your Tzitziyot, if they're made correctly, the Tzitziyot have 5 double knots in them. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's 5 double knots in your Tzitziyot. This is the way they're made. Now, there's also, if you count them, I'm not going to sit here and count them, but there's also 8 strings after the knots, the 5 knots. So that's interesting because that, if you look at that, 5 knots and 8 strings is 13. Now, 5 and 8, that makes 13. Again, I can add. Okay, but if you add the 13 to the Tzitziyot in the Hebrew, what does it come out to? 600 plus 5 plus 8 is 613. Just like the 613 laws, Jewish laws. Interesting. It was very interesting the way the mathematics worked out on that. Yahweh is good. Now we see that it's a reminder, the Tzitziyot are a reminder for us to keep Yahweh's commandments, but what's the other one? What else does it do? Obedience to Yahweh. It amazes me how believers choose to think of the Scriptures like, I'll come back to that. Some people think of the word of Yahweh as a trail mix. What do I mean a trail mix? You ever see a trail mix, a little jar of trail mix that has different things in it, peanuts and walnuts, and peanuts and cashews and raisins and other things in it. If you ever notice, whenever you get your mom gets a jar of trail mix, there's always something that's left on the bottom. There's always something that nobody else eats. Nobody eats. Usually with me, that was the cashews. So I myself do not like cashews, but my wife does. So a trail mix. People take the word of Yahweh as a trail mix. Now, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by trail mix? Well, people tend to take some scriptures and say, yeah, we need to be obedient to them. But they take other scriptures and say, oh, well, no, we don't need to obey them. We can put them aside. That's what I mean by trail mix. They pick and choose the scriptures they want to be obedient to. It's not this word of Yahweh is not a trail mix. We have to be obedient to the whole word of Yahweh. We have to be obedient to all of it, not just some of it. The word of Yahweh is not a trail mix where we can pick and choose what we like. The scriptures tell us over and over again that we should be obedient to Yahweh and His word. Here's just one example. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 26 through 28.
Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you this day. And a curse if you will not obey the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which ye have not known.
Okay, so this, you see here that Yahweh has a blessing and a cursing for being obedient to what? The commandments. The commandments. Not just to pick and choose, like in the trail mix that we were looking at. You know, it's not, the word of Yahweh is not trail mix. Yahweh wants us to be obedient. There's blessings in the obedience to Yahweh's commandments. Now, this is just one of the many scriptures, and I looked them up, and I was going to give some, but I figured now I don't want to, go through all those. But this is one of the many scriptures that tell us that we're to be obedient to Yahweh and His Word. Whoops. James chapter 2, verse 10. Let's go over to the New Testament for a couple of scriptures here.
For whosoever shall keep the whole Torah and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all.
You see, wow, if we are obedient to the whole Torah and we disobey in one point, it's like we've not done any of the Torah. You see, Yahweh doesn't want us to just pick and choose. Yahweh wants us to be obedient to the whole Torah, not just a little part. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17.
Think not that I am come to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Now, I had forgotten, I wouldn't have quoted that earlier if I had remembered that I had used that in the future of in the teaching. You see, the word of Yahweh, he says that he's not come to do away with the law, the Torah, but to fulfill it. Okay, now, so we see the importance of it, the significance of it. My next question would be, how to wear them. How do you wear Tzitziyot? Now, there is scripture that tells us how to wear our Tzitziyot. The scriptures, actually, the word of Yahweh gives a few examples on how we are to, wear them. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 12.
Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four corners of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself.
You see, the scriptures here tells us how we are to wear them. Now, I can't actually show you the ones I'm wearing, but again, I have them on to the best of my ability here, because of the pants that I'm wearing, I have them on the four corners of my pants, my pants that I'm wearing. Now, the four corners of our vesture. Now, I need to explain something about this, because we might say, well, four corners of your vesture, how do you do that? We have to understand that go back to the Jewish culture here, and that they wore, when they, at that time, they had a garment that was underneath their regular clothes, and it was cut out such that there was four corners on that vesture that they had on them, and they had their Tzitziyot attached to them four corners. Now, our clothes, of course, are not made like that. They're not designed like that. After all, who ever saw a four-corner pair of pants? You don't. They're rounded or oval shaped because of the hips of the person. So we know that we can't wear a four-cornered garment unless we wear something underneath our shirt that has the four corners on it. And you can purchase them online or other places, although some cultures and here would be a little warm in the summer to wear something under your t-shirt like that. So we are, according to scriptures, able to wear it on our garments, our pants, our regular pants or sweatpants or dress pants, whatever pants we happen to be wearing. Now, I myself, I wear them either, if I'm wearing regular dress pants, I wear them looped through my belt loop on the four corners. Also, if you look at these here, these are my longer set. These here, they have a pin. I have a pin for these because I wear these actually more often than the shorter ones, and there's no particular reason for that. I just like the longer ones myself. But and that's to each person's liking. I wear the pin. I have the pin in there because I wear sweatpants, and they of course don't have a belt loop, so I have it pinned to my my sweatpants. Now, the scriptures do not say that we cannot pin them to our garments, because Yahweh understands that at that time, back in that Jewish culture, they had that undergarment that had the four corners, and we today don't have that. So Yahweh is lenient in that we he understands when we pin it to our pants, because it's not the fact that we would wear them, it's what they mean. They're there to remind us of the commandments of Yahweh, and that's why we wear them according to Scripture. Now, let's look at Numbers chapter 15, verse 38. Now, I know some of these scriptures are repetitive because the scriptures don't give that much information on Tzitziyot.
Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
Okay, now we see here that it said to put it on the four corners of your vesture. Now the vesture there is that garment I was talking about with the four corners on it. So the scriptures do say to put it on the four corners of your garment. So there is instruction in the scriptures on how to wear Tzitziyot. Now, the question would be asked now, well, how not to wear them? Does the scriptures give us explanation on how not to wear our Tzitziyot? And yes, they do, as a matter of fact. The scriptures do talk about how we should not wear our Tzitziyot. When I first heard this, I was like, wow, that don't make sense, that tells us how not to wear them. But yes, it does. Let me explain. Let's look at the scripture. Matthew chapter 23, verse 5.
But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their philanthropies and enlarge the borders of their garments. Okay,
now let me explain something about this. Let me explain this scripture here a little bit, because there might be confusion here. The scripture here is not saying that we cannot wear Tzitziyot, or that we should not wear Tzitziyot. I myself, as I've already stated, I have two sets of Tzitziyot. I have my longer set, which is here in the front, and I'm wearing my shorter set of Tzitziyot. Messiah was trying to get across a point here. And that point he was trying to get across was not that we shouldn't wear Tzitziyot, but that we should wear them. But we should not wear them to bring glory or to bring people to come to us and say, give ourselves glory, to lift ourselves up. You see, that's the point that Yahweh Messiah was trying to get across in these scriptures. Because he was talking to Sadducees and Pharisees here, and he was saying that they were purposely wearing their garments, their Tzitziyot, long, very long. Now, in the scriptures, if you look at that, and you can also see them online also, that some Tzitziyot are made that they're long like this one here, but the blue thread in it is a little bit longer. It's like an inch longer than the rest of the Tzitziyot. Now, I myself, I don't know if it was my longer set or my shorter set. It came like that. And what I did was, I don't feel comfortable with having the longer string, the longer blue string. Because the scriptures here say that we're not supposed to, he was chiding them, or he was getting on them, because their Tzitziyot were long. Why? To bring eyes on them. You see, if I wear Tzitziyot at all, it's not to bring glory to myself. It's to bring glory to Yahweh. It's to remind me to keep His commandments. Now, Tzitziyot can also be a great witnessing tool. You can have people come up to you, and they can say they see your Tzitziyot, and they ask about your Tzitziyot, and it gives you a chance, thank you, to witness to them. Now, the thing is about this is that not that you're trying to bring glory to yourself. They see your Tzitziyot, and they ask questions. But where is that supposed to direct them? Should direct them back to the Torah, the scriptures. All glory when wearing Tzitziyot should be for Him, not for us. And that's what Messiah was saying here, is that they were trying to bring glory to themselves, not to Him. That they want glory for themselves. Okay, now, here's another common question that's asked. Should women wear Tzitziyot? Now, this is a hot topic when wearing Tzitziyot. There's a lot of people out there that believe wearing Tzitziyot is just for the men. The scriptures do have things just for men. In other words, the scriptures in the Torah, there was certain things that were just for the men. What were they? Were like priestly duties, the blowing of the trumpets, doing sacrifices, etc. These things were things done just by the men. The wearing of Tzitziyot is not one of them. Nowhere can you find a scripture that states that women are not to wear Tzitziyot. As a matter of fact, Numbers chapter 15, verse 37 says just the opposite.
And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the border of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
Okay, now, we see here that it says, the children of Israel. that we see it says children. Now, okay, I understand in the scripture, the Hebrew word for children is ben, B-E-N. And that Hebrew number is 1121, which means a son, as a builder of the family name, in the wildest sense of literal and figurative relationship, including grandsons, subjects, nations, quality or conditions, etc. So, it says the word ben talks about sons, or a son. But it also talks about a grandson, or a nation, or a subject. It's not specifically talking about men. Okay, I didn't give the 1129, which I should have. It gives pretty much the same definition. That's why I didn't do that. So that's why the scriptures do not say anything about women not wearing tzitziot. Nowhere again does it say that women are not to wear tzitziot. The children of Israel, over and over again, it says about the children of Israel. And it's talking about the whole children of Israel, not just the men. So we see that women are, yes.
A good point for women to wear tzitziot is all the other Torah commandments, except for certain ones, like the Shabbat is for women, keeping the Passover is for women, the dietary laws are for women. Mm-hmm. So wearing tzitziot would be for women too. Exactly. We could go back to that list that I gave earlier with all them Day of Atonement and all that. And some of them, the high ones, not holidays, I was going to use the wrong word there. The high days, there's 3 of them, high feast days, the men were to go back to Jerusalem. But all of the feasts were for all of the children of Israel. That's a good point, that all those were for women also, not just the men. So, women can wear tzitziot. So, what's some objections to wearing tzitziot? What's the objections to them? Now, I'm not actually going to speak about this too much today. This is going to be covered in the next part, the second part of the study, next week, next Shabbat. But I just want to close in saying there's a lot of objections to wearing tzitziot. We always have to remember, though, to search the scriptures. That every question we have, we need to search the scriptures. Because the scriptures are the ones where we find our answers. And that includes the wearing of tzitziot. Now, I want to thank you very much for watching our video, watching our teaching this evening. Please come again next week when we discuss the common questions and objections of wearing tzitziot. Also, if you have any questions that you would like answered about tzitziot, please put them in the comments section of the video, or you could go onto our website, and I believe we have a contact page there, where you can actually send us a question. And we'll do our best to get those questions together and have them addressed next week.
Yahweh's Learning Channel thanks you for watching this video. We hope you were edified by this content. Reach out to us with the information provided on screen, or you may click on the links to view more of our videos. Please subscribe to be notified of new uploads. Until next time, Shalom.